They look at you like nothing matters. Their face turns quiet, their replies get short, their warmth fades, and everything in you says, that must mean they stopped caring. But wait, stay with me here, because this is where most people get it wrong. Sometimes the coldest distance does not mean absence at all. Sometimes it means the feeling got too strong, too close, too real, and now they do not know how to hold it. What looks like silence can be a mind working overtime. What feels like rejection can be inner panic wearing a calm mask. They pull away, not because you disappeared from their heart, but because you suddenly became too present in their inner world. And that changes everything. Because once you understand this, you stop chasing the surface and start seeing the hidden pattern underneath it. You stop reading only the message they send with their behavior, and you begin to hear the message they are too guarded to say out loud. Watch closely, because the person acting distant may be fighting a battle you cannot see. The colder they seem, the more intense the pressure may be under the surface. And if you have ever sat there confused by someone who went silent right when things started to feel real, then this is going to hit deeper than you expect. By the end, you may never look at distance the same way again. When a guarded person suddenly creates space, the first thought is usually simple. They lost interest, they do not care, they are done. It feels logical because we are taught to read people through visible action. Warm means interest. Distance means withdrawal. Silence means absence. But with this kind of person, the outside can be deeply misleading. Their retreat is often not a sign of emptiness. It is a defense. It is the nervous system trying to calm an inner rush that feels hard to control. Closeness starts to wake something in them. Not always joy, not always comfort. Sometimes it wakes fear. Fear of needing too much. Fear of being seen too clearly. Fear of losing control over how much they feel and how much power another person now has to affect them. So just when things begin to matter, just when the bond starts to feel real, they step back, not because the connection means nothing, but because it means enough to unsettle them. That is the part many people miss. The deeper the feeling grows, the stronger the instinct to regain space. It is not random, it is a pattern. And once you see that pattern, the mixed signals begin to make more sense. Not easier, but clearer. And clarity matters, because what hurts most is not always the distance itself. Sometimes it is not understanding why it happened. What makes this so confusing is that their outer behavior and inner experience often move in opposite directions. Outside, they look cool, controlled, unreadable. Inside, the connection may be repeating on a loop. They replay your last conversation. They remember your tone. They go back over one small look, one pause, one moment that stayed with them longer than it should have. While expressive people release emotion through words, guarded people often trap emotion inside thought. So the feeling does not leave. It circles, it builds, it settles into the quiet parts of the day. They may be working, driving, scrolling, talking to other people, and still your presence keeps showing up in the back of their mind. This is the paradox. They step away to create relief, yet that same distance often keeps the emotional thread alive, because what is not spoken does not get resolved. What is not shared does not get softened. It stays active in private. That is why someone can look detached and still be deeply occupied by you. It is not that the feeling vanished. It changed form. It moved underground, and underground it can grow roots. If you have ever felt someone become cold right when the bond was getting deeper, do not miss this. Sometimes the silence is not the end of the story. Sometimes it is the place where the hidden story becomes louder than ever. Suppression does not kill emotion. It changes where the emotion lives. When they choose not to say what is happening inside, the feeling does not disappear like smoke in the air. It turns inward. It becomes concentration. It becomes mental repetition. It becomes a private storm with no exit. This is why a person can seem calm and still be carrying intense inner tension. The emotion wants space. It wants language. It wants movement. But if they do not trust expression, they force the feeling into silence. And silence has a strange effect. It can make a person look unaffected while making them think about you even more, because now there is no honest conversation to release the pressure, no vulnerable moment to clear the fog, no direct admission to give the feeling shape. So the mind keeps working. It keeps analyzing. It keeps asking questions they may never say aloud. What did that moment mean? Why did I react that way? Why can I not stop thinking about this person? Why do I want closeness and fear it at the same time? This is where overthinking begins to feed the attachment. And here is the part nobody sees. The more they try not to feel it, the more the feeling can spread through their inner world. It shows up in distraction, in restless thought, in the sudden memory of your voice at random times, in the urge to check, then resist checking. Stay with this, because the silence is not empty. It is crowded. Their retreat is often automatic. It happens before they fully understand it themselves. They do not sit down and calmly decide, I am going to create distance because I am emotionally overwhelmed. It is usually faster than that. The bond gets deeper. Their body senses exposure. Their inner system reads closeness as risk. And the reaction begins. Replies slow down. Tone changes. Presence fades. They become harder to reach, not only for you, but sometimes even for themselves. That is why their behavior can feel so sudden. One day there is warmth, openness, a sense of something growing. Then, almost without warning, the door seems to close, but inside them, something else is happening. They are trying to restore control. They are trying to quiet the part of them that feels too stirred, too influenced, too affected. For a person who leans hard on self-protection, deep feeling can feel like losing balance. To care is to become vulnerable to change. To attach is to risk pain. To need can feel dangerous. So distance becomes the emergency brake. It gives them the illusion that if they create enough space, they can shrink the emotion back down to a manageable size. But feelings do not work that neatly. They can leave the room and still carry the connection with them. They can stop texting and still think about what they almost said. They can look cold while privately wrestling with warmth they are afraid to trust. This is why cold behavior is often misunderstood. People assume cold means there is nothing there, but sometimes coldness is not emptiness. It is emotional armor. It is restraint. It is the face a person puts on when what they feel underneath has become too uncomfortable to show. They may act measured, controlled, even indifferent. Yet that performance can exist because the attachment means too much, not too little. Strong feeling brings pressure. It brings uncertainty. It brings the possibility of expectations, dependence, disappointment, and loss of freedom. For someone uncomfortable with those states, the safest move is to reduce visible emotion, to become harder to read, to give less away, to look untouched even when they are very touched, and this creates one of the cruelest illusions in human connection. The person receiving that coldness thinks, I must not matter. Meanwhile, the person giving that coldness may be hiding precisely because the bond matters enough to shake them. That does not make the behavior healthy. It does not erase the hurt it causes, but it explains the contradiction. They are not always showing less because they feel less. Sometimes they are showing less because they fear what happens if even a little truth slips through. Because if the mask cracks, then the feeling becomes real in the open. And once it is real in the open, they cannot control it the same way anymore. Their inner world is often far more intense than anyone around them realizes. They may not talk much about what they feel. They may not confess. They may not ask for reassurance. But private processing can go on for a very long time. They revisit details. They study moments after they pass. They search for meaning in ordinary exchanges. A quick message can stay with them for hours. A shift in tone can sit in their chest all day. A memory of you can return at night when everything gets quiet and there is nowhere left to hide from thought. This is how hidden attachment can keep growing without visible contact. The mind becomes the meeting place, and because the process stays internal, it often stretches out longer than it would in open communication. Other people resolve tension through conversation. They release feeling by naming it. But a guarded person may try to understand emotion only by thinking, which means the experience stays active much longer. It is like holding a note in the air without ever letting it land. That suspended feeling can become heavy. It can make them seem distant while keeping you strangely close inside them. And if you have ever wondered how someone can disappear outwardly and still be emotionally involved inwardly, this is one answer. They do not know how to carry the connection in the light, so they carry it in the dark, quietly, repeatedly, in ways nobody else can easily see. At the center of all this is a subtle fear that closeness might slowly erase them. Not in a dramatic way, not with loud panic or obvious confession, more like a quiet dread that intimacy could blur the edges of who they are, that caring deeply might pull them into needs, expectations, and emotional dependence they do not know how to manage. This fear of being swallowed by the relationship often stays below awareness, yet it shapes almost everything. At first, they may move toward you with real interest. They may enjoy the connection, laugh easily, open up in flashes, and show warmth that feels genuine, because it is genuine. But as the bond deepens, another force wakes up, the sense that this is becoming bigger than they can comfortably hold, that they are being pulled into territory where they might lose their independence. And that is when the push and pull starts. They come close when the feeling stays inside limits they can tolerate. They pull away when it crosses an invisible line. One day they seem all in, the next day they seem gone. It can look like a game, it can feel personal, but often it is the visible shape of an inner conflict they have not solved. They want connection. They fear what connection asks of them. They want warmth. They fear the vulnerability hidden inside that warmth. And so they move in rhythms that confuse everyone, including themselves. This is why silence becomes such a powerful tool for them. Silence gives control. Words create consequences. Once something is spoken, it can be answered, misunderstood, deepened, rejected, or turned into expectation. Silence avoids all of that. Silence lets them pause the outer story while the inner story keeps running. It buys time. It removes pressure. It creates the feeling that nothing more has to happen right now. For someone who processes slowly and privately, that can feel safer than direct contact. They do not have to explain. They do not have to define the feeling. They do not have to risk saying too much or wanting too much. They can stay hidden, and hidden often feels manageable. But silence has a cost. It protects them from immediate exposure while locking the emotion in place. Because what is unspoken often remains unfinished. It lingers without shape. It returns without warning. It keeps the connection alive in a private form that can be hard to release. So when they go silent, it does not always mean they are free of the bond. Sometimes it means they are trying to control a bond they still feel, but do not know how to carry openly. That is what makes their silence so confusing. It looks empty from the outside. From the inside, it may be full of you, full of thought, full of resistance, full of things they almost said and then swallowed at the last second. The deepest struggle is not that they do not care, it is that two strong forces live inside them at the same time. One force wants closeness, real closeness, understanding, safety with another person. The other force wants protection, distance, control, freedom from emotional exposure. These two forces do not cancel each other out, they collide, and that collision creates the mixed signals people find so painful. They can feel drawn to you and still retreat from you. They can miss you and still avoid you. They can think about reaching out and still choose silence. They can long for the warmth and fear what that warmth might awaken once it is returned. This is why their actions can feel so contradictory. Each move toward connection wakes the fear. Each move away wakes the longing. They end up circling the very thing they cannot easily accept or release. And because the conflict remains unresolved, you stay present in their mind, not just because of romance or attachment, but because you now represent both desire and danger in the same emotional space. That is hard for the psyche to settle, so it keeps returning to the bond, trying to make sense of something it does not yet know how to hold. If this feels intense, that is because it is. Human beings do not only get trapped by what they want, they also get trapped by what they fear wanting too much. And that is exactly where many guarded hearts live. You can often see this pattern in the smallest things. They may watch from a distance but avoid direct contact. They may remember details they act like they forgot. They may respond late, yet with a tone that reveals more feeling than the delay suggests. They may go quiet for days and then suddenly reappear with a message that feels almost casual, as if nothing happened, while carrying a weight you can feel between the lines. They may ask about you indirectly. They may pull back after a moment of closeness that would have brought someone else nearer. They may become colder right after intimacy, not before it. And that matters, because timing tells the truth. When distance appears exactly as the connection grows, that usually says more than the distance itself. It says something inside them got activated. It says the bond crossed into a deeper place. It says the issue may not be lack of feeling, but fear of feeling too much. Of course, not every distant person is secretly attached. Sometimes distance is disinterest. Sometimes silence is exactly what it looks like. That is why you should never build your life around decoding someone who refuses to show up clearly. But when the pattern is closeness followed by retreat, warmth followed by coldness, presence followed by sudden distance, there is often an inner struggle behind it. And once you know that, their behavior stops feeling random. It becomes a language, a painful one, yes, but still a language. There is another layer to this that few people talk about. When a person keeps emotion trapped inside, memory becomes stronger. Not always because the bond itself is larger than life, but because it was never given a clean ending. The mind returns again and again to what was not fully lived, not fully said, not fully understood. That is why unfinished connections can become so powerful. The avoided message, the almost confession, the moment of closeness that was followed by distance, these things linger because the story never settled into clarity. The guarded person may try to convince themselves they are over it, above it, beyond it. But then a small reminder hits, a song, a phrase, a place, a time of night. And suddenly the emotional current is back, not because they chose it, because the bond was stored in an unresolved form. This is one reason they may think about you more than they admit, even to themselves. The connection did not get to unfold naturally. It got interrupted by fear, cut off by silence, frozen by self-protection. And what gets frozen often stays preserved. This is why some people look calm while carrying years of unfinished emotion in private. It does not mean they were weak. It means they never learned how to meet feeling without defending against it. And when that happens, The heart does not always let go in a straight line. Sometimes it circles. Sometimes it hides. Sometimes it returns in silence with more force than before. But let's be clear about something important. Understanding this pattern does not mean excusing harm. Distance may be protective for them, but it can still be painful for you. Their silence may come from fear, but fear does not make confusion easier to live with. You can have compassion for what is happening inside them and still protect your own peace. You can understand the wound without volunteering to become lost inside it. That is a crucial line, because one of the biggest mistakes people make is turning insight into permission to tolerate endless inconsistency.